Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee. Today we got a video. I think I can probably get this one in a single part this time. We're going to be making something that a lot of other YouTube creators have done as well. It's just my method of doing it may be a little bit different. It may be the same as others. I've not watched everybody's, but we're going to be making some pallet clamps. Mini pallet clamps. I've got a pallet on my rotary table. I'm sure you've seen me use it in several videos, but it bolts down to the rotary table. This is just a lift hook right here for it. Got that pallet table. Then I've also got a couple of these poor man's sign tape where you clamp the round piece in the vise and set your angle on it that way. I've got this one, and then I've got one that's in a horizontal and a vertical for long or short pieces, whichever way you needed to turn the angle. What I've been using for clamps in the past was these. They're 3/16 thick, 3/4 wide, and I think these are about 2 1/4 inches long. Using 1/4 hold down bolts. Of course, you use one bolt under the end here as a jack, and then the other bolt through to clamp it down to the pallet. The problem with this is, being hot roll, you can see what happens to them. They bend very easily, only being 3/16 thick, and it's cost me on a couple occasions when they would actually bend under pressure. After you've got your piece clamped down, got it good and snug, all of a sudden you realize your piece is loose, and it's because one or more of the clamps you were using has given way to the stress. Here's the last thing it did for me. I was cutting this radius around here, glanced down to pick up my can of WD-40 to spray on this aluminum as I was cutting. I was taking the full 1/2 inch cut at the time. Looked back and my work had moved, and obviously this is junk now. So what we're going to do today, we're going to make some more clamps. We're going to make some a little heavier duty, a lot heavier duty. I've got some blank stock that we're going to be using. It's 3/8 thick versus 3/4 wide. Going to be making some 2 1/4 inch long, which basically be about the same size as the other clamps, and then some that are 2 3/4 inch long for those just having to reach around something. I'm going to be making 4 of each. This is what we're going to be making. This angle on the ends will be 25 degrees to make just a little toe there for hard to reach places. We'll drill and tap for a quarter 20 here, and then mill out this slot. So I'm going to get set up on the mill, and we'll start making some clamps. Got a 3/8 end mill in the milling machine now, and what we're going to use to set that angle is this 25 degree angle block. I've got a parallel laying across the bottom now just to steady everything. And of course it's all slippery. All right, on the prototype, to get this in right here, to make it come out about in the center here, I'm going to come down 150 thousandths from touching off, from zeroing out on the z-axis. So there's 0. Be sure my vise is good and tight. That was 50 thousandths there, just taking light cuts. I don't want to kick it out of the vise. And we'll step over just a little bit on the x-axis to be sure we clear that up. So we've got this first angle cut on the end, on the toe. I'm going to continue that process for the rest of them. Cut all this end angle, and then we'll come back and cut the side angles. I've got all the flats cut, or the angle cut, on the top of all the pieces. Next we're going to cut these side angles. And again, they're going to be at the same 25 degree. So what I'll do is use the 25 degree block. I can't set a parallel under there now because it's don't have any parallels less than 3/8 of an inch. So just as long as we're sure our angle block spans across the ways in the vise. Now if I touch off again, just like we did before, touch off on the top corner and go down the same 150 thousandths, then this angle should come out at the same point of this one. So let's give that a try right quick. Being sure the vise is good and tight. And this is considerably less material here, so I'm going to do it in 2 passes this time. As far as depth wise, there's 75 thousandths now. There's 150. Now we shouldn't move over on the x-axis, and when we come out, that should be pretty much at the same entry point there, right dead on it. Get burr out of the way. So you see our 2 points intersected there. Now we'll turn it over. Being sure there's no chips down in there. Zero. Take our 75 thousandths. And there's our 3 angles cut for the toe on the end of the clamp. Of course, these will be deburred, and I'll ease those edges a little bit on the belt grinder. So I'm going to continue that process for the rest of them. Then we'll come back and be ready to drill some holes. Ready to start drilling and tapping a hole in each end, in the one end of each piece. And I've got a short drill. This is the drill for the 1/4 tap drill. I shouldn't have to use a centering drill. I think with as short as that is, I believe it'll go in without trying to wander on me. I take it real slow to begin with. Now I've obviously got the table centered up on the y-axis and got my y-axis locked in. I'm lining each piece up with the end of the vise. That way I don't have to remeasure each time. And I've come in 325 thousandths. So drilled. And I'm using a 2-fluted spiral tap, 1/4-20. So I shouldn't have to back off. And what I'll do is put the mill in low gear, the slowest speed, which for mine is 115 RPM. I'm just going to put enough pressure on it to get it started. And I need to tighten that end of chuck a little more. Once it starts, it'll pull itself right on through. Once I know it's through, now reverse. I think changing the tools is easier than trying to drill all of them and then coming back and trying to tap them all and changing the workpiece in between. All right, I'll continue that process on the remainder of them and then come back when we get ready to start milling out our slot. All right, I've got the drilled and tapped in all the pieces. I'm over here at the little benchtop drill press now, and I'm just going to put a slight little counter bore on each one of them just to remove the burr. Not enough to cut into any threads or anything. All right, this is what I'm using to do the counter bore with. I really like these bits. I've had this one for a couple years doing exactly what you see here, and it's still plenty sharp. So we're going to go back over to the mill now and start cutting some slots. To mill out the slot in each of our toe clamps, I'm going to use a 1/4-inch rough and end mill. I'm not really concerned about the finish on there. If it leaves the rough and end mill type finish, that's perfectly fine with that. I just rather, I can cut a little bit more with that than I could a finish end mill. So from this end down here, we're going to go in 800 thousandths. And I'm going to go ahead and run the end mill all the way through the piece. Go ahead and pierce a hole all the way through. And I'm going to use a little mist coolant on this. Now I forgot it, but I want to set a set a 0 on the Z. And I think we're going to do this probably in about 3 passes. I've got that hole cut there, and when we get to the other end, we'll mill the hole all the way through there as well. So I'm going to try about 125 thousandths. And I'm going to be using the power feed on the table at a very, very slow rate. And I'm bringing this over to 2-inch 100 thousandths. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and plunge this down. Now we can go back in the other direction. I've got the taking another 125 thousandths in depth. Back to our 800 thousandths. I should be able to get the remainder of it now. Now that's all the way through. What I'm going to do is, on the y-axis, is step over 10 thousandths on each side. The reason for doing that is that's a 1/4 inch end mill, and I'll be using a 1/4 inch bolt. And I'm not interested in trying to fight it each time to get it in there. It doesn't need to be sloppy, but there needs to be plenty of room for it to go in. Now I'll stick 10 thousandths on the other side and run the table back. Little deburring and polishing up, and that one will be finished. As I said at the beginning of the video, this is some hot roll material that I had. And of course, hot roll has got a scale on the sides of it. The edges have already been cleaned up where I milled that down to get it to size. But I'm over here at the horizontal bandsaw now, belt sander. Got an 80 grit belt in there, and I'm just going to knock this scale off of each side. Now I'm going to turn around to the belt grinder. Got a little finer belt on there, and I want to use that just to ease these edges all the way around on here, get rid of the sharp edges. This is 150 grit on the belt grinder. All right, I think we're ready now to go back to the workbench and do a little recap. All right, so here's the finished pieces. These are the longer ones, and got 4 of them and 4 of the shorter ones. And in the event you're not familiar with how they work, I've got several different lengths of quarter 20 bolts that I've put in the lathe. And I removed the grade mark on that to get a good flat surface on there so it wouldn't mar up the pallet. The way these work, screw in a one of the quarter 20s, find my wrench, and set that to about the height of your material that you're wanting to clamp down. Such as that. Then find a hole that goes through to the pallet itself, and clamp that down. You'd want to be sure that bolt that I used right there probably didn't catch about 2 threads. You'd want to be sure you got plenty of thread down in there, because again, this is an aluminum pallet here, so it's not the hardest material in the world. Clean all these threads out, and most likely what I will do before I put this away in the drawer is to put a clear coat of something like polyurethane, something like that, on each one of them. That might be a little bit too long there. And just clamp that down. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, nothing special. They're just some toe clamps, but something I've been meaning to do for a long time, and just hadn't stopped long enough to do it. So take care, and I'll see you on the next video.